Australia's worst female serial killer.
Good evening. She was labelled Australia's worst female serial killer, but reinforced her guilt. Free woman.
What if I told you that Christmas morning, the happiest day for children, turned into a nightmare for one family? On December 25, 2008, in a quiet Irish village called Winnegap, a horrifying crime took place. 30-year-old Sharon Whelan and her two daughters, Zara, 7, and Nadine, 2, were found dead in their farmhouse. What seemed like an accident was soon revealed to be something far worse, a brutal murder followed by arson. Police investigations led to Brian Hennessy, 23, a local man who had been drinking the night before. DNA evidence tied him to the crime, and he later confessed. On November 17, 2009, just before trial, he pleaded guilty and received 3 life sentences. However, in 2010, his sentence was reduced, allowing him to apply for parole after 7 years. The Whelan family's fight for justice continues, raising serious questions about Ireland's legal system. Kilkenny, a city of history and shadows. In the heart of Ireland, there is a small medieval city called Kilkenny. With a population of just 26,000, it is known as the Marble City. Tourists visit for its castle, cathedrals, and beer, but among locals, it is famous for hurling. The people of Kilkenny are even called the Kilkenny Cats for their fearless spirit. Just 30 minutes south of Kilkenny lies Winnegap, a quiet village. It gained attention when Hollywood star George Clooney traced his ancestry there. But in 2008, Winnegap made headlines for a much darker reason: the Whelan family tragedy. On December 25, 2008, Sharon Whelan, 30, and her daughters, Zara, 7, and Nadine, 2, were found dead in their farmhouse. What should have been a joyful Christmas morning became a nightmare. What really happened that night? And who was responsible? The answers would shake this peaceful community forever. The Whelan family, a story of love and struggles. Sharon Whelan, born in 1978, had a tough start in life, but found love and stability when she was adopted by Christy and Nancy Whelan. Along with her siblings, John, Linda, and David, she grew up in the quiet village of Winnegap. Sharon was known for her kind heart, strong mind, and hard-working nature. She loved hospitality and worked hard to build a future for her children. By 2008, she was a single mother raising 2 beautiful daughters. Zara, 7, was full of energy, loved hurling, and helped her grandfather Christy prepare for local matches. Nadine, 2, had just been diagnosed with autism, and Sharon was determined to get her the best care. She moved into a farmhouse near her parents, ensuring her daughters had the same love and support she had growing up. Sharon loved Christmas, and this year was no different. The tree was decorated, gifts were wrapped, and she looked forward to spending the day with her family. But she had no idea this would be her last Christmas Eve. A Christmas morning turned into a nightmare. On December 24, 2008, Sharon Whelan, 30, was excited for Christmas. She spoke to her mother, Nancy, on the phone, proudly saying, "I even got all my bills paid and have some money left over." That night, she called her father, Christy, at 11 p.m., telling him the coast was clear to drop off the Santa presents for Zara, 7, and Nadine, 2. But while Sharon tucked her daughters into bed, a killer was making his way to her home. Brian Hennessy, 23, a local man, had been drinking all day. He told his friends, "I'm off to get a shag," before walking 20 minutes to Sharon's farmhouse. At 1:30 a.m., he broke in, attacked Sharon, and strangled her. Her daughters slept just a few feet away, unaware their mother was gone. Instead of leaving, he stayed in the house for hours, deciding his next move. Then he did the unthinkable. He set the house on fire, ensuring there were no witnesses. The devastating discovery. On Christmas morning, December 25, 2008, smoke was seen rising from the Whelan farmhouse. Two neighbors rushed to help, breaking in through a rear window. Inside, they found Zara, 7, and Nadine, 2, lifeless, but it was too late. The smoke had already taken them. Their mother, Sharon Whelan, 30, was also dead. When firefighters in Garde arrived, they first suspected an accidental fire. But something was wrong. Sharon's body was stiffer than the girl's. Dr. Marie Cassidy, the state pathologist, later confirmed their worst fear. Sharon had been strangled before the fire started. The truth was horrifying. This was no accident, but a planned cover-up. The town of Winnegap, known for its peace, was now in shock. Who could have done such a heartless act, and why? The investigation had just begun, and the small village would never be the same again. The trial and sentencing. As the investigation unfolded, police gathered strong evidence against Brian Hennessy, 23. His DNA matched the crime scene, and after hours of questioning, he finally confessed. But even after admitting to the murders of Sharon Whelan and her daughters Zara, 7, and Nadine, 2, he refused to plead guilty. His trial was set for November 17, 2009, and the Whelan family hoped for justice. However, in a shocking turn, just hours before the trial began, Hennessy changed his plea to guilty. The judge sentenced him to 3 life sentences, but 2 would run concurrently, meaning he would serve only 30 years. In 2010, Hennessy appealed his sentence and won. The court ruled that under Irish law, only 1 life sentence could be given, no matter how many people were killed. His sentence was reduced, allowing him to apply for parole after 7 years. The Whelan family was devastated. Instead of true justice, they now had to fight against the system to keep Hennessy in prison. By 2019, Ireland changed the parole law, increasing the waiting period from 7 to 12 years. In 2021, Hennessy applied again, leaving the family in fear of his release. This case exposed the flaws in Ireland's justice system, where multiple murders could still result in a single life sentence. Ireland's broken justice system. The brutal murder of Sharon Whelan, 30, and her daughters Zara, 7, and Nadine, 2, shook the entire community of Winnegap, Ireland. But what followed was equally shocking: the loopholes in Ireland's justice system that allowed Brian Hennessy, 23, to escape true punishment. When Hennessy was sentenced on November 17, 2009, the judge handed him 3 life sentences. But in 2010, he appealed and won. Irish law ruled that because a person has only 1 life, they can only receive 1 life sentence, no matter how many lives they take. This meant Hennessy would serve just 1 sentence for 3 murders. Adding to the injustice, Ireland's parole system at the time allowed prisoners to apply for release after just 7 years. In 2017, Hennessy had his first parole hearing, forcing the Whelan family to relive their trauma. Though he was denied, he could apply every 3 to 4 years. A new law in 2019 increased the minimum parole period to 12 years, delaying his next application until 2021. But the nightmare wasn't over. Since Hennessy's rape charges were dropped, he would never be added to the sex offender list. For the Whelan family, the fight for justice never ends. They fear that one day, Brian Hennessy could walk free. A family's endless fight for justice. More than a decade has passed since December 25, 2008, but for the Whelan family, the pain remains. Sharon Whelan, 30, and her daughters Zara, 7, and Nadine, 2, were brutally murdered by Brian Hennessy, 23, a man who should have never walked free. Yet, due to Ireland's weak justice system, he still has a chance at early release. Despite receiving 3 life sentences in 2009, Hennessy won an appeal in 2010, reducing his punishment to just 1 life sentence. This meant he could apply for parole after 7 years. In 2017, His first parole request was denied, but the Whelan family knew he would keep trying. A new law in 2019 extended parole eligibility to 12 years, pushing his next hearing to 2021. For the Whelan family, every parole hearing is a fresh wound, forcing them to fight again and again to keep Hennessy behind bars. What happens if he's released? How can a man who murdered a mother and her 2 children ever be allowed back into society? This case exposed serious flaws in Ireland's legal system. The Whelan family continues to push for stricter sentencing laws, so no other family has to suffer the way they have. But the question remains, will justice ever truly be served?